I'm sorry. I really love this story. I love the story about, oh, please show some respect. Well, where was the respect when they didn't show up for Lilibet's christening? Where was the respect when the Queen was on her deathbed and Charles said, Harry, you come but don't bring her? Where was the respect if this performative father-in-law who walked her down the aisle showing such support but failed once at all to support her, to show any kind of allegiance to her, to protect her from the tsunami of racism, the abuse, and know
the criticism that they weren't there at the christening
is pointing fingers at Harry and Meghan. I'm sure there are millions of married couples who do exactly what Harry and Meghan have done, and nobody's losing any sleep over it.
No, this isn't an ordinary family.
I'll tell you this, though. When I got the news that she wasn't coming, I screamed. I was laughing my head off. I was like, well
done, Shola, that's because you're a supporter of Meghan. Equally, they have fewer and fewer supporters. Their popularity has plummeted. And I think this is a missed opportunity where they could have started to rebuild their standing in this country. And as we were saying, many people are celebrating because they don't like Meghan. Well, again, it would have been perfectly doable for her to come over.
Daisy,
they could have avoided the booze.
It is interesting.
Okay, hold on a second. One second, I need to address that point. First of all, Meghan Markle is not running away from booze. If anybody should be worried about booze, it should be dear King Charles, who every single time he shows his face gets booed, gets egged, and signposted with "Not my king." So no, I don't think
he has more support than he has detractors. He's not as popular as the Queen.
Meghan Markle has way more support than King Charles could even dream of. The point here is
none of the polls point to that. Her latest poll rate readings are minus.
And tired of the onus being placed on Meghan and Harry to do the right thing. You know, you need to make amends. That's just
But they're the ones who have made all the headlines. They're the ones who've made all the accusations.
Made all the headlines before Harry and Meghan started to speak out.
That's not true.
That is true.
Can I just ask you, do you...
The Good Morning Britain studio was buzzing, and Daisy McAndrew thought she had something clever to say. With that smug certainty so many royal commentators have, she claimed Meghan and Harry were afraid of returning to the UK because they'll be booed. But before the echo of those words even faded, Dr. Shola Moshogbamimu came in like a storm, calm, controlled, but devastatingly sharp. You could almost feel the temperature drop as she turned to Daisy and said, "If there's anyone afraid of being booed, it's King Charles, because he's being booed everywhere he goes." And just like that, the entire narrative flipped. Dr. Shola didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her facts did the shouting for her. Because the reality is, Meghan and Harry are not the ones being booed in the streets. The monarchy is. The boos aimed at Charles and Camilla aren't whispers anymore. They're the sound of a public that's waking up. What Dr. Shola exposed in that single sentence was the hypocrisy of the British establishment. For years, they've projected their own public disapproval onto Meghan and Harry, pretending that the couple's absence from Britain was some act of cowardice. But let's be honest, what is there in the UK for them to fear? They've already survived the most powerful smear campaign in modern royal history. I mean, they faced relentless racism, invasive headlines, and betrayal from inside palace walls. Yet, through it all, they remained dignified, calm, and united. Honestly, if anyone should be nervous walking into public events, it's not Meghan and Harry. It's the royals whose popularity keeps plummeting. Dr. Shola's clapback hit so hard because it was pure truth wrapped in brilliance. She refused to let Daisy's lazy talking point slide. It wasn't just about a debate on television. It was about defending two people who have been dragged through the mud for daring to choose peace over palace drama. You know, the myth that Meghan and Harry fled because of public disapproval is honestly one of the British media's favourite lies. They didn't flee. They freed themselves. And well, the irony, the same press that called them cowards just can't stop reporting every single move they make in California. If you're supposedly irrelevant, why are you still the lead story every week on the morning shows? Dr. Shola's energy on that panel really said what so many are afraid to admit: Britain didn't lose Meghan and Harry. They pushed them away. The tabloids made life unbearable, the institution offered no protection, and the so-called royal fans turned vicious the moment Meghan refused to play the silent, smiling figure they expected. So, when Daisy claimed Meghan and Harry fear the British crowd, Dr. Shola reminded her that, honestly, the only people who should be worried are those whose approval ratings sink lower every month. King Charles is being met with boos, placards, and chants wherever he turns. The people are just tired of the cost of monarchy, tired of double standards, and tired of the illusion. Meghan Sussex, on the other hand, is thriving. She's not hiding, she's healing, she's running her projects, nurturing her family, and standing in her truth without apology. There's honestly nothing fearful about a woman who rebuilt her life from ashes that others tried to scatter. And let's talk about Harry for a moment. The British media still can't digest the idea that this man chose his wife over a crown. But Harry didn't walk away in weakness. He walked away in strength. He made the decision every loving husband would make when the safety of his family is at stake. So, when commentators like Daisy toss out cheap claims about fear of being booed, they actually reveal more about their own denial than about Harry and Meghan's reality. Dr. Shola's takedown was more than just a soundbite, it was, honestly, a reality check. It reminded the nation that the monarchy's public image is cracking, and they're, well, desperate to distract from that by pointing fingers at the Sussexes. Meghan isn't the one being heckled on public walkabouts. Charles is. Camilla is. The coldness of the British crowd isn't directed at California. It's really directed at Buckingham Palace. And that's exactly why Meghan will never return to live in the UK. Why should she? What would she return to? The same press that stalked her, the same people who twisted every word she said, the same royal structure that offered her up as a scapegoat. She has nothing to prove, nothing to gain, and everything to protect. Meghan's peace is her victory. She left behind a world obsessed with hierarchy and replaced it with a home built on love. She no longer needs palace approval because she has global respect. Her projects, from Archewell to her As Ever line, are about authenticity, not obligation. Dr. Shola's brilliance lies in her refusal to let people rewrite the story. She said what millions think, but few dare to say on air. That the monarchy's biggest problem isn't Meghan Markle, it's itself. The boos echoing around Charles aren't just about one man, they're about an entire institution that feels outdated, elitist, and out of touch. And so, when Daisy tried to spin fear, Dr. Shola flipped it into truth. She looked right through that polished media narrative and said what needed to be said, loudly, clearly, and unapologetically. Because Meghan and Harry don't fear the public, the monarchy fears accountability. That's why Meghan will, keep her distance, because she knows that every return trip to Britain becomes a headline war zone. And honestly, for what? She's built something far better. A free life where her worth isn't measured by palace gossip or press approval. Dr. Shola's defense was more than just a rebuttal. It was a declaration. It was a reminder that truth, once spoken boldly enough, can't be buried under royal PR. Meghan and Harry are not afraid. They're liberated. The ones trembling behind polished smiles are those who hear the boos getting louder every time they step outside. So yes, Dr. Shola destroyed Daisy McAndrew's argument in, seconds. But more importantly, she destroyed the illusion that Meghan and Harry owe anything to a country that mocked their love and questioned their existence. The ones afraid of facing the people aren't in Montecito. They're sitting on the throne.